Manufacturing accounts for 9.2% of the total country's GDP, with the government keen on raising the manufacturing stake to at least 15% by the year 2022. Former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair is urging the government to leverage on technology to shore up the manufacturing sector.
What we find in this report is that obviously it will change the nature of manufacturing and change the nature of industry. This will offer enormous benefits because through this industrial revolution, through automation and big data, it's possible to transform many things, and in particular, it's possible to do a lot of manufacturing here on the continent of Africa and here indeed in Kenya.
Blair is calling on the government to make more investments in technology infrastructure and education to improve ICT skill set in the country.
Is that this industrial revolution, this new industrial revolution, this technological revolution, is probably the single most important thing that's happening in the world today. And there's often a big gap between what I call the change makers, in other words, those developing and inventing the new technologies, and the policy makers.
The kind of things that the Tony Blair Institute is talking about are very similar to the things that we're trying to implement. The need to continue to create and enhance jobs is there, and this is what this is looking at. But
on his part, ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru said the government is seeking to incubate more ICT startups to make the sector more vibrant.
We've been working as a government in Kenya. The president has, almost personally pushed with the MasterCard Foundation. You may have seen already there is over 30 billion shillings the MasterCard Foundation is giving here in Kenya, and another over 100 billion coming from the KCB Foundation, the Equity Foundation, to ensure that we are taking advantage of the manufacturing, we're taking advantage of technology, so that many of our small businesses grow and expand, and therefore
the government has a certain amount of money they're spending educating people in engineering, in the sciences and so on. And very often these people end up going into jobs in banking, in auditing firms, instead of staying in engineering. And yet, Big Four is saying that manufacturing is one of the important pillars for going forward. So if the people who are supposed to be pushing manufacturing are not able to use the engineering that the taxpayer has paid for, then we're losing as a country.
The African continent is urged to constantly share ICT knowledge to enhance cross-border networking that will increase intertrade in the region.
Manufacturing and industry. So, for example, when Kenya is going to develop enormous infrastructure, it's building more houses. When that happens, it's important that the ability is here in the country for some of that material to be locally sourced. So this is...
The international community and global IT brands are urged to invest and fund Africa's ICT development in a bid to bridge the global digital divide.
Jobs will be lost, but new ones will be created. Automation is a likely phenomenon that is not addressed by if, but when it will occur. Brian Itava, Channel One Business.